Alright folks, let's dive into the world of hazard lights, those blinking lights on your vehicle. You know, the ones that make your car look like a Christmas tree on the fritz. They seem straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many drivers out there are clueless about their proper use. Hazard lights aren't just for show. They're meant to alert other drivers to, well, you guessed it, a hazard. It's basic common sense. When you activate those lights, you're essentially saying, hey everyone, be cautious. There's something unusual happening here. Proper use of your hazard lights is crucial for being a responsible driver. It's not just about protecting yourself and your vehicle. It's about ensuring the safety of everyone on the road. So pay attention as I, your go-to motoring journalist, break it all down for you. We'll discuss when to use them, when not to, and everything in between. By the end of this video, you'll be a hazard light pro. Here's the deal. Hazard lights are like those big flashing neon signs that say important announcement. They grab your attention and tell you and other drivers that something's up. So when you see them flashing, exercise caution. Hazard lights act as a warning signal, giving other drivers a heads up that something's wrong so they can take the appropriate actions. Imagine driving down the motorway on a foggy day. Visibility is terrible. You can barely see your hand in front of your face. Suddenly, you see hazard lights flashing up ahead. That, my friends, is a lifesaver. It means there's probably a traffic jam or an accident up ahead, giving you precious time to slow down and avoid a nasty crash. The same goes for any situation where your car becomes an obstacle or when you decide to drop off someone where you shouldn't stop, especially taxi drivers. Ever noticed how many of them completely ignore or disregard the importance of using their hazard lights? Anyway, back to you. If you have broken down and you are on the hard shoulder, hazard lights on. Broken down on any road, hazard lights on. You're a delivery driver and creating a hazard on a tight road because you are dropping off a package. Hazard lights on. You are moving into a new place and your removals truck or van has created an obstacle on the road or completely blocked the road and it can't be helped. Hazard lights on. Had to stop suddenly because a herd of sheep decided to cross the road? You guessed it. Hazard lights on. You're simply making your car visible by doing that. And that, my friends, can be the difference between a minor inconvenience and a trip to the hospital, or even worse. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. When should you be using those flashing beacons of warning? Glad you asked. First and foremost, use your hazard lights if you're stationary and pose a danger to other road users. This includes situations like a breakdown, an accident, or if you've had to pull over in a dangerous spot. Speaking of dangerous spots, pulling over on the hard shoulder is a prime example. It's like parking your car in the middle of a racetrack. You need to make yourself as visible as possible to oncoming traffic. So, hazards on, mate. Oh, and don't forget about blind spots or hills where you suddenly find yourself in traffic. Using your hazard lights is a sign that traffic conditions have suddenly changed and a way to keep other drivers from ramming into you. Imagine this. You're driving down the motorway minding your own business, when suddenly your engine starts to sputter and cough. Steam begins to pour out from under the bonnet. You need to pull over immediately. This is when your hazard lights become crucial. Pulling over onto the hard shoulder can be dangerous. You're essentially parking your car in an active lane of traffic. By turning on those hazard lights as you pull over, you're giving everyone behind you a clear signal. They'll understand you're not just stopping for a break or to check your phone. They'll see that you're having car trouble and will hopefully give you more space. Trust me, in this scenario, your hazard lights are your best allies. Funeral processions. A time for respect and caution. Now, let's discuss funeral processions. These solemn events require a bit of decorum, even on the road. Using your hazard lights during a funeral procession is a sign of respect for the deceased and their grieving family. It also serves a practical purpose. Think of it like this. The cars in a funeral procession are like a flock of birds, moving together as one. The hazard lights act as a visual link, helping the procession stay together and avoid getting split up by traffic. When you see a funeral procession with hazard lights on, it's important to be respectful and give them space. Don't try to cut in or disrupt the flow. Let them pass by peacefully. It's the decent thing to do. Hazards off. Please when they cause confusion. Just because you have hazard lights, it doesn't mean you should use them indiscriminately. There are situations where using your hazard lights is not only incorrect but also dangerous. For instance, driving slowly in normal conditions. Hazard lights are not an excuse for driving at a snail's pace. If you're moving slowly on a clear road with your hazards on, you're more likely to cause an accident than to prevent one. Why? Because other drivers might misinterpret your actions. They might think you've broken down or there's an obstacle ahead, leading them to make sudden, dangerous maneuvers. Driving slowly? Not a hazard. Imagine you're driving through a picturesque village, soaking in the beautiful surroundings and searching for that delightful pub you heard about. You're driving a bit slower than usual, enjoying the view. Resist the urge to hit that hazard light button. Driving slowly, especially in areas with good visibility, isn't a hazard. It's best to do so when you're not holding up other road users. Always follow road rules and stick to the recommended speed limits, particularly in built-up areas or where pedestrians are present. Turning on your hazard lights while driving slowly on a clear, scenic road sends mixed signals to other drivers. So, if you want to enjoy the scenery, do it when the road isn't busy to avoid confusing or delaying other drivers. Using your hazard lights just because you're driving slowly can make other drivers think you're about to stop suddenly or that there's an issue with your car. Stick to your standard lights and follow the speed limit at all times. Blinking for a parking space? Absolutely not. Let's talk about another misuse of hazard lights, using them while waiting for a parking space. This happens often, especially in supermarket car parks. A car is about to pull out, and someone immediately turns on their hazards, claiming the spot. Remember, hazard lights don't reserve a parking space or give you the right of way. They are not a replacement for patience and proper parking etiquette. Use your indicator to signal your intentions. Using hazards this way can frustrate other drivers, especially if you circle the lot for a long time before parking. So, keep those hazards off unless there's a real hazard. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Ciao.